For this tour, we'll start with the status page. As with many Crestron web interfaces, this will show you the status of various categories. We can see the model, serial number, and firmware. The More Details tab will give additional details if needed. Under the occupancy sensor status, we can see if there is an occupancy sensor configured. If you had one added, it would show up here. The Input-Output menu shows the status of the inputs and outputs. Notice how we can see that sync is detected and 4K 60 video is being both received by the device through the input and is being transmitted to the output. We can also see the HD-CP sync capability. In other words, we can see what version of HD-CP the display supports. The Network menu shows us network settings. The Control System menu shows us our IP table settings. Since this device was just powered on, this information is not there. Note that you do not need a control system to get full functionality from the HD-CTL 101. Moving to the Settings menu, this is where much of the configuration is set. We can configure the network, for example, by changing the host name or turning DHCP off and setting the network configuration manually. Cloud settings allow you to disable or enable the Cloud Configuration Service connection, which is on by default. The Auto Update menu allows you to enable or disable Auto Update. More details about Auto Update can be found in Crestron Online Help. Date and Time allows you to configure your date and time. Be sure this is set correctly when installing the device. The Control System option allows you to add an IP table to communicate with a control system. Press the Add button, enter an IP ID, and enter the IP address or host name of the control system. Room ID is used if using Crestron Virtual Control. To save an IP entry, press the Save button. The Occupancy Sensor menu allows you to pair an Ethernet or I/O occupancy sensor to the device. To add an Ethernet occupancy sensor, press the Add button and fill in the appropriate information. Once complete, save your changes. If using a digital sensor, you can name it here. A digital sensor just needs to be functional and plugged into the I/O port on the HD-CTL 101 to function. The Inputs and Outputs menu allows you to configure the video input and outputs. Here, you can set a global EDID to send to the input. We can view the name, see if sync is detected, see the EDID information, and other relevant info. The Edit button will allow us to make edits. Under Edit, we can change the name of the input, change the HD-CP capability, which by default is set to auto, and choose the EDID template we wish to use for our setup. The Status tab shows us detailed status of what is coming into the HDMI input port. It is similar to what is shown in the main status menu. Press the Done button when you are finished. The Output menu allows you to configure the output. We can view the name, whether a sync is detected, the resolution, and the HD-CP mode. Under Edit, we can change the name of the output, disable the output, blank the video, or change the HD-CP capability. Under the Connected Display, we can see that the display is being detected. We can also save the custom EDID file of the display if needed. For audio settings, we can choose to mute the output if desired. Next, we have the Automatic Display Power configuration. Note that this configuration will function fully with no control system installed. Automatic Power Trigger allows you to choose the condition in which the display will be sent a command to power on. Currently, we have it set to send a command when sync is detected. If utilizing the built-in relay, you can choose the behavior of that relay here. In our example, we're using CEC, or Consumer Electronics Control, but we can also choose RS-232, IR, or drivers. Command format can be ASCII or hex, and you can choose different command terminators as needed. For power off, if using CEC, you can choose the CEC command that is compatible with your display device. The test button will send a string out so that you can check and see if your display responds to the command. For power on, it is largely the same concept. The input control button will allow you to send input selection commands to the display if supported. You can choose a delay and manually input the string the display is expecting as the trigger to switch to the desired input. Once you are done configuring, click the Done button. The security menu will allow you to configure all of the standard security features of the device. Under Current User, you can change the current username and password. The Users menu will allow you to configure existing users and create new ones. Groups allow you to choose what type of access level you want to give the users. You can also create a custom group. The 802.1x menu allows you to enable 802.1x. There are two types of authentication methods supported: certificate or username and password. When making any changes, hit the Save button when complete. A reboot will be required to apply some of the settings. The Action menu allows you to reboot, restore, update firmware, download logs, manage security certificates, EDIT, device drivers, download and upload configurations, and manage the schedule. To add a schedule, choose the Add button, name it, and set it however you want. The schedule allows you to choose an on and off time for the HD-CTL 101. The Manage Device Drivers menu allows you to manage drivers. Currently, we only have the default CEC-controlled display driver loaded. The User Drivers tab will allow you to download drivers from the cloud or add manually. Importing from the cloud gives access to a large library of pre-built drivers to choose from depending on what devices you are using in your application. For example, if we type Sony, we can see all the Sony devices that come up. Note that the drivers may be IR, serial, or IP. To add a driver, select it and press the Add button. We have now successfully added a display driver from the cloud. Downloading the configuration allows you to back up the configuration to load to the device in the future, or load the same configuration to multiple HD-CTL 101s.